Hello and welcome to another Let's Interview, and today I have Mathew Aldwin, aka the creator of Ask a Dalek.
Hello.
Yes, it is great to have you on the show, as well as letting me be a part of the Ask a Dalek series. And by the way, if you haven't already seen it, link in the description. He just got done with a big story-driven thing about the titular character, Derek the Dalek.
Yes, indeed. It was far more interesting than I am, I fear. So I hope I don't bore you all to tears.
Well, what did you expect? It's about a Dalek who asks questions. That's already a bit interesting.
Yes.
Speaking of which, you want to pull him up and show the model?
Yes, I've got the model with me that I used for Derek. This is him. Here he is. He's a fine-looking piece of work. He is actually a character options voice interactive Dalek. Originally purchased for around £80, I think. I don't know what the dollars to pounds conversion is.
I don't know either.
But I'm sure you can all work it out roughly. It was about £80 off of Amazon. They've gone up in price since then because he was bought 2006. So he's been with. Oh no, sorry, not 2006. 2009. So I'm getting my dates confused. 2009 I bought him. The model had been for about 9 months then. It's the voice interactive version, so it's the 18-inch version, nice and chunky. And it's got a lot of options you can do with it. I'm just going to turn him on here. I'm going to put it into remote control mode. This is the remote control. And basically how I go about filming all of the episodes and videos on my channel is all of the movements are controlled obviously through the remote control, like so, as you can see there. And then whenever Derek speaks, and this is the bit that's a pain in the backside, this is what I have to do. There's a big button in the middle there, and that's it. So whenever I want Derek to speak, I have to do this. We are the supreme beings. And then obviously the lights flash on and off in time with what the model is saying, but that doesn't match up with the dialogue that I will record later. Because what I do, I record the dialogue on my computer after the film has been completed. I then modulate the dialogue using. I used to do it in Cool Edit Pro, which went on to become Adobe Soundwave. But I then purchased a piece of software called Dalek Voice Pro, which I think sounds a lot better. It's available for about $5 on the internet. If you Google Dalek Voice Pro, it will take you to the website. It's a great bit of software. Literally, you put a WAV file into it, and it comes out sounding like a Dalek. It's amazing.
I'm gonna have to find that.
Yeah, check it out. It's amazing. But the only problem is when I then put the two together in the edit, so the voice file and the video footage of the Dalek talking, what you end up doing is what I like to call live action stop motion, because you've got video clips of the Dalek with the lights on, video clips of it with the lights off. You've already filmed it live action, and then of course you've got to add in a live action clip whenever he moves his head, followed by another, "You will make a good Dalek." And then you have to cut in, obviously, the appropriate lights and no lights clips. And it takes bloody ages. You only need about 10 seconds of footage, in reality. So 5 seconds with lights on, 5 seconds with lights off for each bit of dialogue. But every time you move the head, or the eye stalk, or the Dalek itself, you've then got to reshoot another 10 seconds of footage. And actually animating that in Adobe Premiere takes absolutely ages. That's why there's such big gaps between the videos. Ask a Dalek is particularly easy because I don't need to reshoot between episodes because I've got a library of clips. I'm going to redo the clips at some point because I've moved my room around since the last episode. Yeah. And I want to kind of keep a continuity throughout the video. So I will shoot some better footage for the next episode of Ask a Dalek, which is coming, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so I literally spend hours on end trying to get the lights to match up with the dialogue, and it doesn't always look right. You'll get odd little clips where the lights go off too early or come on too soon. It's not a precise science. There's a lot of touch and go about it.
Yeah.
But, the results look quite good. So
oh yeah, it looks,
and it's cheaper than having a full one.
Oh yeah, it looks great. The effect you do. I mean, now we know why it takes so long. You're basically doing the equivalent of an abridger lip syncing using the anime footage. they have to get the lip syncing right, but you're trying to get the flashes set up right.
Exactly. In that sense, it's easier than actual lip syncs. Obviously, you don't have to match to mouth movements and things. But the trouble I have is that giving the Daleks a distinctive voice, because in some of the videos I've used the same model to portray the same Dalek. Great example of this. There's an opening sequence in The Adventures of Derek and Matt, Episode 1, Genesis, where Derek is, spoilers, fleeing from Skaro, and he gets confronted by a member of the scientific division, which is Dalek with a claw, not with the plunger. Now, all I did for that is the plunger actually pops off, as you can see there, and rather than buy a whole new Dalek model, what I actually did was I ordered the claw as a spare, so if I ever want a Dalek with a claw, I just use the same model and pop that off.
Ah, interesting.
So that Dalek in that video is the same model, but you have to give it a distinctive voice. And the trouble is giving the Daleks distinctive voices. Now, I am in no way Nicholas Briggs. I'm nowhere near as talented as that.
Yeah, I've noticed when you did use the radio announcer, it was your voice.
Exactly.
That was my only complaint about the entire series, is that you couldn't get a friend to do it. Hell, you could have asked me to do the voice. Just say,
Please,
"Hi, I'm Crazy American Mike. I'm here to tell you."
I sit in my room and play with Daleks. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm surprised you think I have a social circle of friends. I'm joking, obviously. I have a pretty good social life, actually. It's I tend to keep this side of things not secret, actually, that's a lie. And I've shown a lot of the videos to my friends at work and sort of out socially, and they think they're hilarious. So,
well,
actually, you wouldn't think it, but actually these guys give me a lot of street cred.
Actually,
is shocking, frankly.
Actually, a sitcom about a guy living with some psychotic Daleks, that could be a really good Doctor Who spin-off. If only... If, you know, like, I don't know, a 5-episode mini-series of just a guy living with Daleks. I mean, I could see that happening, couldn't you?
Well, that's kind of what The Adventures of Derek and Matt is meant to be. It is essentially a sitcom. It's about a guy and his experience with his terrible flatmate who just happens to want to take over the entire universe. But if you strip it down to the very bare bones, it is about an inconsiderate flatmate. The fact that it has science fiction elements in it is neither here nor there. The basic story is your typical rubbish roommate sitcom.
So,
and I think that's why it's so engaging, because I think we've all at some point in our lives been in that position where we've had to live with a person we don't particularly get on with. Now, Matt and Derek are clearly friends, but Derek clearly drives Matt's character up the wall in the show. I mean, even in the first episodes, their relationship is very much kind of, what did you do this time?
Exactly.
Because Matt just keeps expecting Derek to mess up, and he always does, because it's predictable and funny. So
yeah. Yes. So why did you become a YouTuber? Like, what made you think, I want to make a video about a Dalek who answers people's questions?
Well, the initial idea for the YouTube channel didn't come out of Dalek videos. It came out of me wanting somewhere to share my videos. I went to college in 2006 and I did a national diploma in media, which for you guys I suppose would be the equivalent of like community college. I suppose that's not like university. It's not, just a bit lower. I didn't really have many qualifications. I came out of school when I was quite young because I had a few issues around public education, which I didn't get a lot of help with from the various members of staff there. So my parents took me out of school and I was home educated from around the age of 11. So going back to college was my kind of first step back into education. I wanted to do a subject I was passionate about, and I'd always had kind of an interest in film and television and radio and all kinds of media stuff. So a media course was ideal. And we made a lot of kind of practical projects as part of the media course, and I wanted somewhere to share them. In fact, one of the very first videos on the channel is actually a video called Milton Keynes Now and Then. Milton Keynes is the town where I live, and it was a documentary I made for college work about my hometown. and that's had a ridiculous number of views now. I think last time I checked it was something like 30,000 views. I could be wrong. I could be making that up. But that was put up in 2006, so that's nearly over 8 years ago now.
Wow.
And yeah, exactly. And yeah, it started with that. And the actual character of Derek was from a kind of radio sitcom I made during my life as a teenager. From about the age of 14, I frequented a forum for Microsoft Train Simulator, as we had back then, which was an incredibly ancient simulation game if you compare it to today's ones. You've got they've just released Train Simulator 2015, and Microsoft Train Simulator just pales into insignificance by comparison.
Simulators, they are insane today.
I know, they are so good nowadays, and to think at the time we all looked at Train Simulator and wow, nothing will get better than this.
Yeah, then again, after seeing Halo, after the first Halo, we're like, nothing can get better than this. And
exactly. Anyway, I was part of the Train Simulator community at the time, and it started out as like a random forum topic where it was just a few of us, imagining some weird, wacky sci-fi things, and we brought some Doctor Who elements into it. And one of the Doctor Who elements was Derek the Dalek, who we just thought it would be hilarious if there was a Dalek as a security guard. So out there on the internet somewhere, there exists some radio plays in which Derek features as a main character. At this railway station called Scratchwood, which obviously we make reference to in The Adventures of Derek and Max. That's kind of where the original idea came from. Derek was the cleaner at Scratchwood Junction, and they had all sorts of wacky and weird adventures, and we did a radio series. I think we did 2 radio series. We did the first series, which was I learned a lot from doing that. A lot of it was basically my voice. And then the second series, we kind of upped the production values a little bit, and it got a bit better. Again, these were just people sitting in their bedrooms with microphones. It was never professional. We were never going to make it onto radio. We were just doing it because it was fun thing to do.
Laughs.
Yeah. So Derek was kind of pinched from that, and I bought a couple of Dalek models. The one that now plays Dalek Darren was the first video Dalek model I did. I did a little video called Derek the Dalek's blog. It was basically Derek on Skaro doing a little video blog to help with his post-traumatic stress disorder after the great Microsoft wars, which I think we've discussed in Ask a Dalek.
Yeah, well, interview with a Dalek.
Again, just one of those random little things we came up with because it would be funny if the Daleks went to war with the people of Earth and their key antagonist was Microsoft. Just, again, silly little ideas, but they culminated in this character of Derek, who is a Dalek who suffers from, in the original kind of story, he suffered from a genetic mutation because he listened to Don McLean's American Pie when he first arrived on Earth. And it touched him so deeply that he no longer wanted to exterminate everything in the universe and just decided he wanted to try and go legit. And, tackle the light side of things for a change. But he could never quite let go. So it's so every so often he would flip out, particularly if someone called him a pepper pot, at which point he would shout, "You racist bastard! Exterminate!" And that was just like a running joke throughout the radio series. Anyway, so Scratchwood as a radio series unfortunately didn't last. Yeah, we all still talk on Twitter and Facebook and that sort of thing, but the project itself, I think, is one of those things that we'll never get back to. I hope we will one day, because there were plans actually for us to do like a full-length television series. We'd started penning some scripts. Nothing that would ever get made because copyright lawyers would sue us into the ground.
Yeah.
But just as a fun writing exercise, we penned this television series, which never got made. We never met up in real life because we all lived in different parts of the UK and so on and so forth. But the character of Derek has stuck with me since then because I think it's such an engaging idea. Because if you take the Dalek element away from him, we've all been in that position where we just want to fit in. And I think that's the wonderful thing about Derek as a character. I think we summarised it very well in the video I released this week, which is the Cult of Scratchwood Evolution. Cult of Scratchwood is basically a series of shorts I'm doing outside of the kind of normal stories. They're kind of like standalone sketches, I suppose you'd call them. Mm-hmm. But I did a couple for the beginning of the Adventures of Derek and Matt, which was Derek talking to Bren And then as an epilogue, we went back to that conversation, come to, right, so this is what happened, this is where we are now. And one of the things Derek mentions there is that he's become sentimental, which is why he named the Cult of Scratchwood after Matt's model railway, because I had to get a little reference in there somehow. Mm-hmm. And so the idea behind that, really, is just the fact that Derek, he is a Dalek, he still wants to take over the universe because it's his basic function, but he desperately wants to fit in with humanity because I think he finds humanity quite fascinating. He'd never admit that, of course.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, and it's just that desperation to be part of something bigger than ourselves, because Derek spent his whole life taking orders from people, and then the second he became something the Daleks didn't like, they wanted to kill him. So it's about, I think that kind of plays on the fact that in a lot of our lives we have experiences where we suffer from the heartbreak of rejection. And in order to get over that, a lot of us will seek solace in, either a different social group or, we'll go out to clubs and do that sort of thing.
Oh, I've been there.
We'll join societies and, that sort of thing. I think a lot of it's inspired, actually, from my time at university, because I struggled to make friends a bit in my first year of uni. I eventually fell in with a really lovely crowd of people, including Screw Love, who I made the Screw Love movie with. Mm-hmm. And I guess in a way, Derek's character is me projecting some of those experiences, because I've been in that position of I desperately wanted to fit in and, really cared about what people thought of me. And that's Derek in a nutshell, really. He is a Dalek that wants to fit in with humanity, and he never can, because he is this alien that just wants to kill things.
Exactly.
It's actually quite tragic when you break it down, but it's also bloody hilarious.
Yeah, it is it's tragically hilarious. Yeah, and I think I said it best about Derek. He's neither a Dalek, but he's neither a human. He's somewhere in between.
Absolutely. He's not like any of the Daleks we've ever seen on Doctor Who, with the possible exception of the one in the story that just happened, Rusty the Dalek in Into the Dalek. And also, going way, way back to Christopher Eccleston's era, the Dalek in Dalek kind of found its humanity and couldn't deal with it. So it destroyed itself.
But that one was mostly an example of him, realizing what have I become, and then deciding to die the way he wanted to go out. He did not want to go out as a monster, sir. But this is Derek trying to live while being the monster.
Well, actually, in a way, the comparison isn't too bad, because in Dalek, the Dalek gains humanity and sees it as a malfunction and a mutation, and it doesn't want to live like that, so it destroys itself. Derek does the opposite, in that he finds his humanity and actually embraces it because of this mutation, as you discover in the Adventures of Derek and Matt, which lies dormant in every single Dalek, and we never quite find out in the story what triggered it. And I like the idea that that's a mystery. I like to think that somewhere way back in the history of the Daleks, back in things like Genesis, when Davros was removing kind of the humanity from the Daleks.
Would it be the Thal manatee, since they're Thals?
Well, Khalid's technically the Khalid manatee. Oh, the Khalid manatee.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as good, but you have to bring it up that while they are, sapient, well, Homo sapient-like, they're still technically aliens, so you couldn't call it humanity.
Yes. There's a excellent Big Finish story called I, Davros, and in that we find a bit more about the planet Skaro before the creation of the Daleks and kind of the war between the Khalids and the Thals. And in that, it's suggested that the Khalids actually evolved from mollusks rather than primates. So
So they're crab people?
Started as blobs and ended up as blobs.
What?
I know.
Doctor Who takes science and makes it their bitch.
Yeah, do you know what, though? That is the world of Doctor Who. You can do whatever the hell you want, because, why wouldn't something like a bipedal humanoid evolve from something like a mollusk? It could happen. We all came from the sea at one point in time. So, yeah, it makes sense in my head.
It is actually pretty hilarious how they de-evolved into what they originally were from. It's
Results
just
of nuclear radiation.
oh god.
But going back to Derek briefly, I think I like the idea that way back at the creation of the Daleks, there's this tiny little spark in their genetic code that through some reason or other, which I kind of don't want to delve into that anymore. I think I just kind of want to accept the fact that spoilers, yeah. I kind of don't want to delve into that any more than I already have done in the adventures of Derek and Matt, because I think it's nice to have that little element of mystery. But my personal theory is that the kind of humanity of each Dalek has been locked away in a little genetic cell, and it just took a tiny mutation for suddenly Daleks to start going, hang on a minute, and start questioning their orders. And that resulted in Derek and Co. I don't want to go into it from a more plot point of view, I think, so that you won't see any future stories where that will be explained, because I like the fact that's a mystery. And I just like the idea that it's the little genetic secret that was just locked away inside every Dalek, and each one has a potential to become good. And interestingly enough, we will, in the future, examine the possibility that maybe some Daleks don't want to be good.
Well, why not? I mean, let's face it. They have the weapons, they have the armor, they have the means to take over the world. Why not?
Exactly. I think, again, that's a metaphor for humanity, because I think every human has within them both the qualities to be good and the qualities to be bad. And I like the idea of projecting the qualities to be good onto a Dalek. Because I think Derek, despite it all, wants to be good. He doesn't want to be... We summed it up quite nicely in Evolution, I think. He still wants his species to become the superior life form, but they're going to do it his way. They will kill everyone if they have to, but only if it becomes necessary.
Yeah.
He's kind of in his mind thought, perhaps there's a better way.
I like that.
Yeah. I know it's completely against the Doctor Who lore and the Doctor Who ethos, but
hey,
sod it.
Anything can happen in Doctor Who. I mean,
funny.
Let's face it. Just recently they did an episode where a Dalek became good. So the fact that there is a potential for a Dalek to become good, even in some way or another, does put your perspective on how Derek could be into possible being possible canon, at least in some way.
Exactly. And I think just purely from a plot point of view, I think I'm projecting onto that, because my attitude about people is I have quite a low opinion of humans as a species, if I'm perfectly honest.
Oh God, yes. I just think to myself.
There are some
yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
There are some... No, that's all right. There's some absolutely wonderful individual humans out there. There are wonderful people in the world. I totally get that. But for every wonderful person, I know for a fact there's more just absolutely vile people out there. Every good person has a vile person to balance them out.
More like 3.
Well, yes. And I think as a corrective, humans are a very destructive and actually horrible species. We're the only species that looks at on the planet Earth that looks at our environment, and rather than actually taking what we need, letting it renew itself, and going back to it when we're ready, we strip entire environments. And but this is getting political.
Well, see, this is why I like the Third Doctor the most. He is one of the few doctors who will pretty much say, you humans are just intelligent gun-toting barbarians.
And it's true. That's exactly what we are. I think we are civilized in our own mind. It's like the final arrogance. We consider ourselves to have reached the pinnacle of evolution, but really in our heads we're still stuck back in our caves with our clubs. And I think the thing is we're so set. I think as a species we're so set in our ways now, and a lot. Some people have overcome that. I think.
Definitely. There are
get away from. We'll never quite get away from the caveman in all of us.
Oh yeah, I just like to think if there is a god, he's just face palming every day at the stupidity. It's not just how the evil humans. I'm talking about the stupid.
It's almost a cruel irony, isn't it? You give a species a spark of intelligence. The first thing they do is look at each other and go, "You're different. Fear what you don't understand."
Exactly. Exactly.
It's cruel
And
irony, really.
not to get into like a whole religious debate, but the fact that we can argue with each other, and go into wars and fight each other over some of the dumbest things. And I'm not talking about just religion. I'm talking about all sorts of stuff. And we just can't learn to get along. It's just mind-breaking. Hell, the Daleks are a better example of unity. They're united under one cause, the hatred of all other species. But at least they don't try and kill each other. They're okay, except for that one Dalek civil war with the Sixth Doctor. But
again, actually, do you know what? That's a perfect metaphor for humanity, because those Daleks are exactly the same. They were made by exactly the same person, i.e. Davros. The only difference is, what they were mutated from to start with. It is the perfect metaphor for racism in a way, isn't it? Because there is nothing fundamentally different about each of the Dalek factions, and yet they both see each other as genetically impure and inferior. That just sums up racism in a nutshell.
You're right.
At the end of the day, from a human perspective and a real world perspective, all humans are the same. We share the same bodily functions. We share the same. We've got the same heart, lungs, everything. And there's only subtle differences based on regions of the world you live in. And yet, we somehow, well, not all of us, but some people still see other people as genetically inferior because of where they're from on the planet. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Surely.
Maybe that's why aliens have not dropped down. They just look down and just say, "Are you serious? They advanced this far and they're still fighting each other? Come on, Gleeborp, let's get out of here." Right?
Oh, dear. I often say to friends and family that when we talk about the search for intelligent life, and I am well up for the search for intelligent life and anything sciencey.
Yeah, I'm sure there is out there.
Science has the power to bring the world together if only we could stop arguing about things. But what I often joke to my friends and families, do you know what? The search for intelligent life is great, but maybe they should start down here on Earth before they look at other planets.
Yes!
Find some here first.
Yes, I agree. Anyway, moving. Let's see. What did I want to ask you? Is there anything you would ever want to do, like in the future, like with Derek or the show? Like, is there you want to add new characters? Do you want to try and do something different, or would you want to change anything?
I've got a few ideas in mind. I think if I was going to change anything, I think my earlier videos, they're great, but they could be a lot better. So I just want to keep improving the quality of the videos first and foremost. Secondly, I've got a few ideas I want to try out. I've got another series of the Adventures of Derek and Matt planned, but I probably won't come back to that for about a year or so.
Yeah, obviously the end of my epilogue obviously shows the fact that I was involved in a way. And the information that I learned is going to help the bad guy. However, who knows? Whose side am I going to be on? Series. Who knows? I might be part of a third faction of Daleks that you didn't even include. It's Doctor Who. I mean, let's face it. They've done this
can happen.
before.
No, I have got some plans for the next series. There's a rough storyline worked out. I know where I want to go with it. And I keep grinning every time I think of it because the storyline is both touching, heartbreaking, and hilarious. And it makes me smile every time I think about it because there are some new characters coming in. We're introducing some brand new Daleks. There are going to be more Daleks, don't you worry. More to come.
Sweet.
But we're also going to have some plot twists. I don't want to give away too much.
No, I get it.
I want everyone in a couple of years' time when it's finally out to look at it and go, yes, this is amazing. Or no, this is horrible. I hate it. Because you're entitled to do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to like all of them. But
as long as you don't want to be exterminated, of course.
Exactly. Precisely. No.
Speaking of which, when am I going to get paid by Derek?
Not going to happen.
I love that running gag. Yeah, we also add another joke. Derek as an employer. What would a Dalek Like, what would a Dalek do if
Daleks
he...
would be terrible employers, wouldn't they? Really? It's, finish the work by the deadline or I will exterminate you. This is a level 1 disciplinary. We will exterminate you informally.
Informally, I love that. What does an informal extermination look like? And what does a formal
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
That's like, it's like the noodle.
Sketch people.
It's like a noodle incident. At least we get a good dental plan.
Well, of course, it's important to have good teeth.
I love that. That's like
dental health is very important to the Dalek Empire. It's all good.
Oh man. Yeah. So you have plenty of new ideas. There's also something else I'm sure a lot of people would want to know. What exactly is Doctor Who in terms of your world? Like, for example, the Daleks mention that there is a doctor, but you also mention the actor Matt Smith as the actors, and you're obviously referencing the show, The Doctor Who. So, how's that?
I think I should start by saying that the universe in which my videos take place is not R1 and it's not the Doctor Who universe, because that way you can play around with the lore and get away with it. I think it's fair to say that it all takes place in an alternative universe to our own, and also an alternative universe to the one of Doctor Who. Now, I think you can probably think about this too much, purely because when I wrote the script, I wasn't thinking about it in terms of how does Doctor Who fit into this universe. Obviously, from the point of view of the Daleks, the Doctor is a real threat, he's a real enemy, and that's a real thing. But Matt also does a couple of throwaway gags about Doctor Who, and a lot of the stories are parodies of Doctor Who stories in a way. So I think from that point of view, the way I've theorised it, and I've thought about this since, because someone else asked me that question a few weeks ago, the way I see it is this, that the Doctor that the Daleks know about is not the Doctor we know from our TV series. And actually, the TV series we all know and love could also be a TV series in the universe that Derek and Matt inhabit, but it's an adaptation of the adventures of the real Doctor, who we've never seen, and no, we never will. You're never going to see the Doctor in my videos, because I want to leave that side of things.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I think it's nice to have the Doctor there as like that overarching kind of villain, I suppose, because to the Daleks, the Doctor is a villain, and it's
who
nice
would obviously destroy him just for the fact that they are Daleks.
Exactly. So you've got this kind of malevolent power in the Doctor and the Time Lords, which is nice to have there as kind of the threat, because that's what we found out in the Adventures of Derek and Matt, is that the Daleks were so terrified about the Time Lords they had to come up with a contingency plan in case of defeat, because they realised the likelihood of defeat was very, very high. So they clearly fear the Time Lords, and they clearly fear the Doctor.
Yeah, and when you get down to the Daleks, their main, shtick is the fact that they're not just trying to take over the universe, but they're doing it in order to keep themselves alive.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate way to keep of survivability, eliminate all threats. Yeah. And that includes anything that can become a threat, and anything that can become a threat can be anything living. So in other words, kill everything.
Exactly. But to sum up, basically, Doctor Who is a show in the universe Derek and Matt inhabit, but the Doctor is also a real thing. So I think they both fit into each other. And I think, purely from the fact that Matt made the joke about Matt Smith, there must be some similarities between the actual version of the show and the version of the show in their universe. Well, so there's clearly similarities there.
Maybe the actual Doctor Who stuff was a lot more, how should you put it? Mature, as in it was a lot bloodier, a lot worse, like, there were a lot more casualties, whereas the show is a more family-friendly, as it were.
More tame, perhaps.
Exactly. So maybe the fact that Matt Smith is a lot sillier, and perhaps Derek knows that the 11th Doctor was a lot more violent, or maybe insane, almost.
Maybe.
So,
or maybe we're overthinking this now.
Oh yeah, hey, coming up with ideas,
Hey,
you know?
overthinking is a good thing. It leads to good stories.
And
That's,
plus, you know,
that's
you
how
also got to think about this stuff because you're pretty sure someone's going to ask, what is the actual Doctor's like? So you're going to have to come up with ideas for what would the quote-unquote real Doctors be like. Like, we already confirmed the Sixth Doctor is, you know, the most Dalek-like, as it is Derek's favorite.
Yes.
So, but it could also be referring to the Doctor Who serials or the actual Doctor.
Mm. Yeah, I think we're definitely overthinking this.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, what's your favorite Doctor?
My favorite Doctor, well, it keeps changing for me because my absolute favorite when I watched the classic series was Tom Baker. I think he was a lot of
that was my favorite too at the time.
Yeah. Classic series wise, Colin Baker, although he's not my favourite, I think he's horribly underrated. He's brilliant in the show and he's brilliant in the Big Finish stuff.
I think it's because of the fact that, you know, he almost killed his partner. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And not unintentionally either.
Yeah, no, I like Colin Baker's Doctor. I just think they screwed him over really with the writing because there are some dire stories in Colin Baker's era of the TV series. But the Big Finish stuff he does is great. He is actually a really versatile actor and he plays the Doctor really well. And it's nice to see elements of that in Capaldi's Doctor, that kind of dark, you know, not anti-hero, I suppose. He's an anti-hero, isn't he? He's not quite the kind of Matt Smith knight in shining tweed. He's he really is this quite dark anti-hero who in his second story lets a bloke get killed in order to let everyone else escape. Yeah, that's I can't ever see Matt Smith's Doctor doing that.
No, he would save everyone. He would find a way to save everyone.
Yeah. In terms of the modern series, I have to say Matt Smith was the first Doctor I looked at and went, yes, I can relate to you. So he was absolutely my favourite. Capaldi is definitely a close second.
Oh yeah,
he's
definitely been an enjoyable.
I'm loving this series so far. It's fantastic. I can't wait for this week's one, by the way, The Caretaker. That's going to be brilliant.
I need to catch up a bit. I mean, I've been watching some, but they're mostly recorded on on a DVR at my parents' house.
Man. You're missing out.
I know, but
I want to give a message actually to anyone watching this who hasn't watched Capaldi's series. I know there's some of you out there who went, "Oh, I'm not watching it anymore. It's going to be rubbish now Matt Smith's left." Or even if you've not watched Matt Smith because you're still mourning David Tennant, in which case, really, come on.
David was good, but I mean,
David was great, but you know, it's been nearly 5 years. Get over it. No.
And besides, if you watch the entire series, you get to see him again when they cross over.
Exactly, 50th anniversary, people.
Which they need to do more often. They need to do more crossovers.
They do more multi-Doctor stories. We want that. But if you've dropped out of Doctor Who for a while, or if you've not ever watched it, I think Capaldi's actually a really good starting point because they've completely changed the way the show is. It's a lot more dialogue driven now. There's a lot more character to it. You know, it's not just running up and down corridors so much anymore. There's a lot of wonderful dialogue moments.
Feels like an old school. It actually feels like old school Doctor almost.
It does.
Hell, even the opening, the opening itself calls back to the old school Doctor because they show like the face, you know, during the opening, you know, Capaldi's face, which
Absolutely.
I really like that. Of course, I don't particularly like the music for the Doctor Who theme. I feel as though it's a little off.
See, I love that version of the theme tune. It took me a little while because I saw it in the cinema. I know there were clips of the theme and the title sequence released online before it was actually played on television. But I avoided that. I went to the premiere in the cinemas when it was kind of simultaneously broadcast along with it going out on television. And so I heard it in full-on, proper surround sound. And I sat there and I kind of went, ooh, I love the titles, don't know if I like the music or not. And by the end, I listened to the end credit sequence, and that's the second chance I got to hear it, and I thought, yeah, I could grow to like this. And then I rewatched the episode 7 or 8 times over the next 2 days, and by the end of the 8th watching, I'd set it as my ringtone because I loved it that much.
You are such a Whovian.
I know. I think before anyone calls me out on this, yes, I know. I am a geek. I am a Whovian. I love Doctor Who. It's literally one of my reasons for living. There's not many of those. Uh, I can watch and rewatch episodes of Doctor Who literally a few days after they've been broadcast, because I watch it the first time for that feeling of, oh, brilliant, it's a new story, it's, it's all new and exciting. Then I immediately watch it again to see all the bits that I didn't pick up on the first time round, pick out the details and clues. Exactly. And then I will keep rewatching it just to see how it holds up. If I really enjoy a story, I will maybe watch it once or twice and go, yeah, it was okay. But if I really loved a story, and this is how I felt about Deep Breath, I can watch it and rewatch it, and I will never get bored of it. And I've watched it 8 times now. I know that sounds an obscene amount of time to be watching it.
Yeah, I know. That's 8. That's like nearly 6 hours. And I'm taking out the commercials as well.
I know. That is an obscene amount of time to actually sit down and watch a program, particularly if given it was about an hour and 20 minutes long. But do you know what? I could watch that episode now, and I'd still find things in it that excite me and make me happy, because it's an amazing thing. Even if you just watch Deep Breath as a standalone thing, it's a brilliant story. It's brilliantly acted. There's some really touching moments. There's some hilarious moments.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
dramatic, certainly. And
very creepy as well. Creepy and unsettling as all hell.
And it was nice. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen it yet, by the way. So I'm gonna give everyone a chance to pause the video and skip ahead now.
All right, skip ahead a minute.
Skip ahead. Come on. Right, those guys gone. Good.
Okay, good.
Okay, spoiler time. The callback to the girl in the fireplace with the robots and the spaceship being from the same sort of era as the clockwork droids we saw in the girl in the fireplace with David Tennant. It was really subtle, and I liked it even better that the Doctor couldn't remember it.
Exactly.
Because the audience is sat there going, no, we know this. We know what this is.
Get out.
We know
Get the hell out now. Also, I like clockwork droids. I always like clockwork stuff. Hell, in my D&D campaign, they're going to be going in, my party I'm running is going to be going into a town that's run by clockwork with golems and technology and stuff like that.
Love that kind of stuff.
Oh,
There's something beautiful about, I guess you call it steampunk, because that's kind of the genre it fits into.
Well, actually, I think clockwork's kind of a level down from steampunk. I mean, because
it's a bit different, but I like that kind of design for things. The idea of a kind of clockwork spaceships and spaceships powered by steam and that sort of thing, and also kind of computers that are made out of clockwork, robots that are clockwork.
A clockwork Dalek.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, like how about the Doctor lands on a planet where Daleks were crash landed and couldn't escape, and they had to downgrade themselves in order to be able to keep surviving, but they had low maintenance. That would be kind of interesting to see. It's kind of similar to the wooden Cyberman.
Yeah. But I think the reason I like that clockwork and steampunk type style of things, and I will lap up anything like that, is because the Victorian era, which kind of all steampunk and clockwork stuff is based on, it was a time when we not only made things functional, but we did them beautifully. Steam locomotives, ships, vehicles, buildings, everything was obviously functional, but it was done with a beautiful way of doing it. The engineering that goes into some of these things is absolutely wonderful. Like some of my favourite steam locomotives, because as you've probably seen from my channel, I'm a big fan of steam power and steam trains as well. Some of the most beautifully designed steam locomotives are from the early 1900s, late 1800s, because the designers were looking at not only creating something that was functional, but something that looked beautiful as well. And I think that's great. I think we've lost that in a way. We don't make functional things to look pretty as much anymore.
Yeah, it's just all functional.
And I think that's dreadfully sad.
I can actually agree with that. I mean, the only place I can think of that still kind of does that is Japan with a lot of their stuff. But
I mean, there's elements of that in design nowadays.
But it's more sleek.
Yes.
It's more sleek than elegant.
Absolutely. You know, you've got it in things like car design and to an extent modern train design. You know, some of the kind of high-speed trains they design now are done to look very aesthetically nice. But there's just something about the idea of something in steel and brass and I think steam and clockwork in particular, because you're not harnessing kind of a man-made force. You're not using petrol or, you know, electricity. You are using the elements that make up the world, particularly when it comes to steam power. It's the four elements: earth, air, wind, and fire. Sorry, earth, air, water, and fire.
Yeah.
That's the closest we've ever got to making a living thing. And it's the same with clockwork, because all it is using centrifugal force and physics to drive something. You know, there's no battery, there's no electricity or anything. You know, you don't need to generate it. You wind it up and off it goes. Yeah, and that's the closest I think man has come to manufacturing living things, you know, through steam power and clockwork. So clockwork droids make so much sense. And that was a very long ramble to make what was actually an incredibly simple point.
Yeah, but still, there is something great about him. Not to mention creepy. The masks with... Oy, oy, oy. Victorian mask on a clockwork droid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nightmare fuel.
Still one of my favourite stories, because stylistically it's wonderful. I love anything historical anyway in Doctor Who, because they do it so well.
Just him interacting with anything historical. It's always a treat to see how does Doctor Who depict people in history. Are they the same as what history says? Or did the Doctor influence them to do what they did? Or are they completely different and the Doctor just looks at his partner and says, well, it's true, history is written by the victor. You know, just something like that.
No, I love the historical stories on Doctor Who, because that's what it was originally. It was a historical show with time travel as a plot device. It was meant to educate kids about history. And it's nice to keep coming back to that, because I think things like The Girl in the Fireplace, you find out about Marie Antoinette and Madame de Pompadour and you know, the history around that. But you've also got this wonderful, actually quite tragic story of these beautifully wonderful clockwork robots, and the props that they use for the clockwork robots were mind-blowingly beautiful. I love the design of that, kind of with the glass head, and you can see all the inner work. It's just like, oh, wow, that is gorgeous.
Right. Any other stories that you enjoyed from the Doctor? Obviously, we all enjoy stories based around the Daleks.
Of course. You know, that said, there's a couple of Dalek stories I didn't like. I didn't particularly like Daleks in Manhattan or Evolution of the Daleks. I think that's one of their poorer stories. I think
it was
just wasn't very well written. It was entertaining, certainly, and I would still rewatch it now. And you know, there's a few moments that would make me chuckle, like, oh yeah, this is all right. But it's I don't know what it is that bothers me so much about that. I think it's just there's a lot about it that is poorly written. And I hate poor writing. That's the really big thing that bothered me about the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who. It was the way he was great at setting up great plots.
Which era was that again? I'm trying to remember.
That's kind of Christopher Eccleston through to the end of David Tennant.
Okay.
Sorry,
I don't remember all the writers. I remember the actors.
No, that's fine. But that's when Russell T Davies was head writer. And what annoyed me about that era was Russell T Davies is a brilliant writer. He sets up these brilliant story arcs. He sets up these brilliant kind of unsolvable plots, you know, and there's a real sense of drama and threat. But then that all immediately goes away because he comes up with magical plot-solving buttons.
The MacGuffin, Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Rose swallows the time vortex, or Doctor sucks all the Daleks and Cybermen into the void, or Donna becomes a Time Lord. It's like, oh... Jeez, really?
Okay, yeah, that one.
Really?
Well, at least we got the Undying Man. Wow.
Yes.
At least we got that.
But again, that's another example of Deus Ex Machina. It's like, oh yeah, we can kill Jack off as many times as we like now. It's like, no,
but I can think of some
that now ceases to have any dramatic effect whatsoever because there's no sense of threat.
Although I can see some hilarity happening from all that.
Yeah. It's like one of my favourite series ever is Series 6 with Matt Smith, because in the very first episode they kill off the Doctor. And you spend that whole series knowing that at some point in the future the Doctor is going to die. And then they resolve it in quite a clever way. I suppose you could argue in a way it is a magical plot-solving button. Oh, he was a robot. But it was still clever. And there was a real sense of threat through that whole series that the Doctor's going to die. And we all knew, because we'd seen it happen, and there didn't seem to be any way out of it. Now, the fact he then found a way out of it is great, but they really sock it to you at the beginning of that first episode. And the first 2 minutes, oh yeah, we've killed the title character off.
Yep.
Oh. Right, okay. Where are you going with this, then?
Yeah, that got me.
Short series.
By the way, there's just a bit of subtlety that I noticed with, like, you ever notice how each time the Time Lords regenerate, each time they go further down the line, it gets more and more violent? But then all of a sudden you notice that when the last Doctor got his new regeneration line, it just happened like that. I think it's because as each Doctor ages, more energy is expounded, making it much more violent.
I quite like that. That's
and
a nice
maybe
theory.
that's why when the earlier Doctors changed, it was soft. You know, how it just, face changed and something like that. Obviously, each, regeneration was based on the director's, preference and writer's preference to how they would change, but I did notice that it seemed to get much more powerful, as it were. Heck, even with the 7th going into the 8 in the movie, it was pretty violent. With the body shaking and everything.
I actually really like the 7th to 8th regeneration. I know a lot of people knock that movie, and understandable, because the plot is terrible.
I gotta find a copy.
Yeah, it's out there on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure it is. I've seen it on there a few times in kind of related video links. So if you get a chance, do go out and check out the Doctor Who movie. The plot is dire. It suffers completely from that thing where the Americans got involved in a very British thing.
Yeah, it was an attempt to revive the series.
It didn't quite work. But I think the thing is, in the movie, it's essentially the same show. If you look at the end of the Sylvester McCoy era, the Doctor Who movie, and then Christopher Eccleston's first episode, they are the same show in everything but actors. Because they're kind of written the same. They follow through the same kind of tropes. There's not a lot of difference between the movie and what we ended up with the new series. It's I think that's marvelous. And like I say, I think the plot of that movie is dire.
Yeah, I know the plot is going to be bad, but I'm going to enjoy it just because it's a Doctor Who. Let's face it. Let's face it, a lot of the early stuff was dire. I mean, even Tom Baker failed plenty of times in his acting.
Let me say 3 words. The Happiness Patrol. That is a dire story. Sylvester McCoy, of course.
Ooh.
Dire story. No, do not like.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. But no, the movie, it's a fun watch. But, don't go into it expecting to love the plot, because you won't.
Oh, exactly.
What you will love is Paul McGann as the Doctor, because he's amazing.
Shame they didn't do more with him. Like, I don't know, maybe make a web series of mini episodes of his travels. Like, base it on... Don't even need to write new stuff. Just base it on the comics that he was in.
If you get a chance, check out the Big Finish stuff. It's written and directed by Nicholas Briggs, the voice of the Daleks, a lot of it. He kind of overarching produces these Doctor Who stories. It's basically classic Doctor Who, but with, new stories. So it's all the old actors. They've got Tom Baker's doing it now, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, of course, and Paul McGann. They all do their own stories. For the 50th anniversary, they did a multi-Doctor story with every single one of them and their companions.
Wow. That is an epic crossover.
Of course, they can't go beyond Paul McGann because the BBC won't give them the rights.
Really?
Yeah, well, maybe one day they will. But at the moment, they've only got rights to use the Doctors up until Paul McGann, so we won't go further than Paul at the moment. Maybe in the future they'll rethink that, and we'll get Christopher Eccleston back, or Matt Smith, or David.
It's a shame they couldn't get. It's a shame they couldn't get Christopher in for the big crossover between, Matt Smith if David Tennant. I mean, come on, having all 3 along with the War Doctor would have been interesting.
I'd have liked to see Christopher Eccleston in that story, but, I completely understand his reasons for not wanting to do it as well. I think it's easy when you're an actor playing something like Doctor Who to get typecast. And I know a lot of people... I think people have said that... I think people have kind of criticised Christopher Eccleston a lot for not kind of being more involved in the kind of Doctor Who's fan base after he left, because he's... And I think the thing is, I think Doctor Who sometimes has the worst fans in the world because they have this. A lot of them have this sense of entitlement. And the
all
fact is,
fans have a sense of entitlement.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's
It's
face
true.
it. Even I admit to having a bit of entitlement.
Oh, I admit that too. I think I was one of the people that when the Doctor Who trailer a couple of years ago was for the 50th anniversary was shown at Comic-Con, and the British fans got nothing. I was outraged. And the more I thought about that later on, I thought, actually, I've got no rights to be outraged because, you know, I don't own the rights to Doctor Who at the end of the day. There's no right for me to see that trailer just because I happen to like the show.
Besides, you can find it on
To
YouTube.
pay the license fee. Cough, cough. But no, in all seriousness, though, I think there is this sense of entitlement. And, you know, Eccleston doesn't actually owe the Doctor Who fan base anything. Yeah, he was an actor who played a role, and he wants to move on and not be typecast to that role. I think, in a way, we have to respect those wishes. He did meet... Let's be fair to him. He met with Stephen Moffat. They discussed the story, and they decided between them mutually that he wouldn't come back. And do you know what? That's fair enough. If he didn't want to do it, he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
he
while
doesn't owe us anything.
While it does fall under the trope of what it could have been, it's
nice to fantasize about what could have happened, you know.
Oh yeah, but I can think of a lot of stuff. Like, I'm imagining, what would you do if you were the Doctor?
What if I was to play the Doctor?
Yeah, I think you could. I think you would look pretty good as the Doctor.
That would be literally my dream job. That would be amazing. I don't think my acting ability is up to the task, to be perfectly honest.
Come on, you do pretty well.
Well,
It's like,
you know, I think it's different acting in web videos you've written than it is to actually getting someone's script, standing in front of millions of people.
That's true.
And
Plus,
playing a role that is so loved by everybody.
I know, not just huge in the UK, big in America.
Yeah, big all over the world now. I mean, there's people all over the planet that love Doctor Who. So, Joe, I love the idea, but I think in reality, if I was ever cast as the Doctor, I would be rubbish. Absolutely.
Oh, come on. You could be as bad as Colin Baker. I'm sorry, it's easy to make fun of him.
No, it's easy to make fun of Colin Baker, but he is an underrated Doctor. He really is. I love Colin Baker.
In my opinion, there has not been a bad Doctor. Some have been better than others.
Absolutely.
Like, obviously, in my opinion, one of the best of the earlier stuff is obviously the Third Doctor, because out of the few Doctors, he is one of the few who is willing to fight. And I actually like that. He's willing to talk, and he's willing to fight. But I wish that they would bring back Venusian Aikido. I mean, come on, at least reference it.
A little reference would be
because
nice.
here's the thing.
All
All the Doctors after the Third would still know it. Because think about it. He would have had to learn it between being the first or second Doctor, because he regenerated on Earth, so he had no way to go to Venus to learn it. By the way, Venusian Kung Fu requires to have 5 arms, and he's a master. So what does that tell you about the Doctor?
Well, at some point he had 5 arms, presumably.
Oh my god, a 5-armed Doctor! Yeah. But seriously...
That's a story we all want to see.
But seriously, I want to see a reference to Venusian Kung Fu, or him using it. Like, I don't know, like, you know, just the guy pulling off some, you know, wire work Kung Fu moves and, you know, being the bad guys, and then the partner's like, you were able to do it this whole time? Yeah, but it's a lot more classy to talk it out. Like, he has it, but he doesn't need to use it.
On a side note, actually, I have to say, I am amazed by how active and sprightly Peter Capaldi is for a man in the 50s. I mean, seeing him sword fight with Robin Hood in Robots of Sherwood a couple of weeks ago, that was awesome.
Might have also been a callback to the Third Doctor, because the Third Doctor was a sword fighter.
He did.
fighting the master.
Well, I say sword fight, spoon fight, which in a way was even funnier.
Exactly. I mean, it would have been awesome if he sword fight, but it was even more awesome that he used cutlery.
This is my spoon. On guard.
And given the fact that Robin Hood, when a lot of people, when they think of Robin Hood, also think men in tights. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a bit in love with Capaldi's era at the moment, I have to say. I know there's some people who don't like him, but I think if you've only watched Deep Breath, or if you haven't watched Deep Breath even, give him a chance. Give him a couple of episodes. I think that's the best way to judge a Doctor. Watch their first 3 stories. And I think they played it really nicely with Capaldi.
Oh, I agree.
Deep Breath, which was you had Deep Breath, which was him trying to find his feet and recover from his regeneration. You had Into the Dalek, which was very much about him finding himself,
as well as how does he deal with his greatest threat, the Daleks. Exactly. I think you can't really judge a Doctor until you see how they take on the Daleks.
Precisely. And then, of course, you had Robots of Sherwood, which was him really coming into his own. And, sort of right, this is your Doctor, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think you can only really judge a Doctor once they've done their first historical setting. Because, seeing how they react to that environment is great. And I think the way Capaldi acted, running around Sherwood Forest, not quite believing anything was real and, being
that was
arrogant
just
and judgmental. It's just
just
you know what? That's brilliant.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But can you blame the guy? Can you blame him because of Robin Hood's a story? Wait, didn't he actually meet King? Wait, didn't the Doctor actually meet King Arthur before? Like one of the old Doctors?
Probably in the classic series.
I remember in the classic series with the 7th Doctor, they had I think it was alien Arthurian knights looking for Excalibur.
Yes, that's it. I forget what Doctor that was now.
It was the 7th.
I'm going to need to look that up. It was the 7th, yes.
Yeah, because I remember that was Linkara's favorite episode.
Yes. No. I've not watched any of McCoy's stuff in ages. I'm going to have to start doing that.
But there is something that kind of disappoints me about the newer Doctors. The outfits aren't quite as impressive as, say, the earlier stuff. I don't know.
It's certainly not as flamboyant, but I think that's kind of a symptom of our era. I think we're a lot more understated in our television.
Yeah, but it would be kind of nice.
Because the way technology has evolved over the years, television-wise... Sorry, I'm going into my full-on television geek mode here. The way television technology has evolved, you don't have to be very flamboyant. A lot of British television in particular, when Doctor Who first started, was very theatrical because it was a new thing. No one really knew what to do with it. The only experience people had of acting in dramas was in the theatre. So a lot of it was based around kind of how theatres were, and that evolved over the years. And but they never quite got away from it. I think we've reached a point now where theatre acting and television acting and film acting as well, if you want to split it off into a third group, they're all very different things. You need to play each one differently. And I think television, people have realised you can do epic and huge and over the top, but subtlety works better. And
I know, but...
Going back to Capaldi again, I'm so in love with that man. Going back to Capaldi, the way they've done his costume, I like the fact it's so understated. It's not the kind of, full-on Victorian dress that Matt Smith ended up in for his last stories. Although that was brilliant, I love the fact they've kind of gone understated again. It's actually quite elegant and classy. I like it.
Kind of reminds me of the first Doctor.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that. I think it's mainly inspired by the third Doctor, the long coat, the red trim, the only thing you're missing is the ruff, really.
Yeah.
And, it's clearly inspired by some of Capaldi's favourite Doctor Who outfits, because he is a massive fan of the show as well.
It's always a good idea to get a fan of the show, especially one who knows the backstory.
One who knows and respects the lore as well.
Exactly. Because, of course, if I were the Doctor, if I were the Doctor... Which, an American Doctor. Ha! Ha!
There is a wonderful blog post, I forget where I read it, a few years ago, where they recast Doctor Who with various American actors. And, they had some great examples, like, oh gosh, now I've forgotten every single one of them. Like, Gene Wilder, who is it Gene Wilder? I can't remember. The guy who played Willy Wonka in Willy Wonka.
Oh yeah, Gene Wilder. Yeah, I could totally see him as a doctor.
Yeah,
the guy he'd
be a great doctor.
Hell, just give him the Willy Wonka costume. And he already looks like him.
Yeah. So they've gone through and actually recast the Doctor with kind of 12 American actors, and go and find it if you can. I can't remember the title of the blog now. It was something like the Doctor Who recast as Americans or something like that. But I think it was in the form of a video, and it's got various clips from these people act roles in Doctor Who, and some of the choices actually work really well. That said, I wouldn't want an American Doctor now. I think I think he needs to be British. And I don't say that from a kind of it's our show.
No. I understand. It just the show was based around British culture.
Exactly.
And exactly. I mean the police box comes from the UK.
Exactly. I think the thing is, it would be wrong if the Doctor wasn't from the United Kingdom. I can't see a Doctor with a Texan drawl or kind of that.
Yeah, I mean the only way it would work is if we made our own series separate from the UK one. But if there was,
you just know they'd only mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. Although
I hope that never happens.
Although there would be one good thing that could possibly come out of that. A crossover between the UK and the American one. We could say it's from another dimension, which, by the way, I always had an idea for an episode where there was... I remember a while back, people got pissed off that there wasn't going to be a female version of the Doctor.
Yeah, that was a huge debate at one point.
Which, in my...
It's actually been female. You may not have seen this. It was a sketch that was done for a big kind of telethon here in the UK called Comic Relief. It's done every 2 years. It's basically a series of comedy sketches on the telly, and they get all sorts of comedians coming. It's to raise money for causes in the third world and also in the UK. So,
how nice.
Yeah, it's great. It's lovely. Google it if you've never heard of it. Comic Relief. It's fantastic. But in particular, there is a Doctor Who sketch they did years ago now called The Curse of Fatal Death. It's a spoof of Doctor Who, with the Doctor played by Rowan Atkinson, who Americans might know as Mr. Bean and Johnny English.
Oh, yeah.
Rowan Atkinson plays him. He's then also, in that story, he regenerates into Richard E. Grant, who's obviously the Great Intelligence from who we saw in the last series. He regenerates into Hugh Grant, who you've all probably seen in a romantic comedy at some point.
Not me.
Jim Broadbent, who's been in a couple of American films.
So basically, rapid fire regen.
Yeah, so that's kind of an ongoing joke. He regenerates, 4 times, into these different actors, and they all play it brilliantly. But in the end, he regenerates into a woman, and he's played by Joanna Lumley, who I can't think of anything she's been in that maybe the Americans or other parts of the world would know. But in Britain, she was in a show called Absolutely Fabulous.
Fabulous. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, fair enough. No, she was in this show called Absolutely Fabulous. That's a funny show. If you ever want to check out some British comedy, Absolutely Fabulous is well recommended. But the Doctor regenerates into this woman, Joanna Lumley, and she is this absolutely over-the-top, really dramatic actress, and she plays it really well, Joanna Lumley. She literally gets up and goes, "I've got etheric beam locator."
Actually,
it's perfect spoof, but it works really well. So the Doctor has been a woman, and I think having seen that, that's the perfect reason why you should only do it if the right actress comes along. I'm sorry, you can't make the Doctor a woman just for the hell of it.
In my opinion,
if the right actress comes along who could play the Doctor really well, then do it, absolutely.
Yeah.
But until then, don't just do it to keep people.
Yeah, in my opinion, the reason why they couldn't do that is because it makes no sense why... it makes sense for them to change, their face and personality, but it makes no sense to change gender. Because there are female Time Lords. There is no information that says that Time Lords have both genders and they can swap between them.
Well, actually, say that. That's not technically true.
What?
In The Doctor's Wife, which was the Neil Gaiman story. They go into another universe, and they wind up in like a TARDIS graveyard. It's a Matt Smith story with Amy and Rory. The Doctor mentions another Time Lord called the Corsair, who always has this kind of tattoo of an anchor, I think it is, on his arm. And the Doctor mentions that he had this tattoo in every regeneration he ever had. Whenever he regenerated, the tattoo got removed, so he went and got it redone. And then as a throwaway remark, he kind of says, even when he was a woman.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
There's precedent for it. There's precedent there. I'd love to see what the precedent is. I'd love to know kind of what the theory and the science is behind the Doctor.
Because I kind of had actually a sort of idea for a episode where they go into an alternate universe where there is they meet the Doctor, but it's always been a female during the time. Every Doctor in this universe had the same adventures, same party, but it was always a woman.
That's quite interesting, actually. That's quite a neat idea. Kind of Akka Red Dwarf, I suppose.
Yeah, so I always thought that would have been an interesting idea, or at least the parallel universe Doctors, how did they act? Like, I don't know, it seems like something that Doctor Who doesn't always do. I mean, we have crossovers with previous Doctors from other timelines, but we never have alternate universe.
We had the Next Doctor with David Tennant and David Morrissey, who I think would have made a fantastic Doctor, actually. His portrayal in that episode is great. It was nice to see kind of an alternative face behind the show. That was quite neat. It was nice that they spun it out in the end and actually it wasn't the Doctor at all, but that was quite a clever plot.
Oh yeah, that was so entertaining, especially since I am a fan of The Walking Dead. And
he is great in The Walking Dead. Actually.
Oh my God, as the Governor, and the fact that he plays such a nice guy on Doctor Who is almost mood whiplash.
David Morrissey is so versatile. He's done a couple of TV dramas in the UK recently, and every character he plays is different. He's really a very versatile.
That takes a lot of talent to do that.
Hell yeah, definitely. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant actor.
Why don't we just call him the unofficial 12.5 Doctor?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Actually, I'd go with that.
Or wait, 11.5 because
11.
it was David Tennant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was 11.5 because he definitely has the qualities to be a Doctor.
Definitely, and he played it very well. I have to say.
Yeah, it's clear he loved
Even
the role.
David Tennant had a really nice chemistry. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Look at us! It was supposed to be an interview about you, and then we're just nerding it up.
We've spent the last hour just talking about Doctor Who and various other things, haven't we?
Yeah, I bet Derek is just thinking there, when will they shut up?
When will this end?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
We've
covered a lot of ground as well. We've gone all the way from, also why did you start doing YouTube to what is the worst thing about humanity? We've covered a lot of ground.
I know, right? It's hilarious, isn't it?
Oh dear.
But hey,
that's what happens when you get two Whovians in a room together and they start rambling. That's it happens. And we're doing it through the magic of the internet, people.
Oh my God, technology is great. Hell, if I went back in time and told myself, well, first off, I would tell him, buy as many packs of basic Pokemon cards as you can, and never open them, and then
They're gonna be worth money one day.
2012, sell them.
Oh dear.
Also, and then warning people about September 11th, that too. I mean, you gotta do that. At least try.
Do you know what? It's this is quite tongue-in-cheek and quite dark. There's a Cyanide and Happiness comic. If you've never checked out Cyanide and Happiness...
Oh, I love them.
If you've never heard of Cyanide and Happiness, to the viewers, it's basically this really dark series of web comics written by a group of guys who, from various different parts of the world, actually. There's an Irish bloke, there's an English bloke, there's a bloke from America, and they all do the comics each on a different day. But they're really dark and twisted punchlines, so you kind of think it's going one way, and then it's sick humour.
They also have a good web series.
It is, yeah. Sick humour is great. I love kind of that.
Yeah, if you're a fan of extremely dark humour, but it's restrained enough to not go on the level of Brickleberry or South Park at its worst. You'll like this.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, the reason I mention it is because you mentioned you'd stopped September the 11th there. There's a web comic that came out in the last couple of weeks, which shows a recurring character in Cyanide and Happiness. He's a time traveller. He materialises in the past, and he goes around the class and goes, "Quick, tell me, what date is it?" "It's September 10th. And then he goes, "Then there's still time." And he rushes off, and you think, oh, okay, he's going to do something. And then he goes up to a desk, and he goes, "All my money in Apple, please."
Oh my god!
It's so dark and such a simple punchline. It's like, yeah, no, okay.
Yeah,
Human beings are horrible.
Yeah, we're horrible. We're going to hell for that. We're going to hell for laughing.
Oh dear. Now, I think if there is a hell, I'm definitely going, because I have a twisted, sick sense of humour. And you know what, that's fine.
Oh yeah, given the stuff that I've done. Given the stuff that I've done and I've laughed at, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, look at the bright side. At least we'll be in hell together.
Woohoo! That's gonna be fun for the other inmates. Maybe, it's just occurred to me, maybe this conversation is somebody's hell. Someone has to sit and repeatedly watch this video over and over and over again for the rest of eternity.
Oh my god.
Hey, we're your personal hell.
I can't believe I just did that.
Oh dear.
I could probably make a pretty good villain. I could be very over the top. Not handsome Jack level awesome, but I could try.
You know what, going back to Doctor Who for a second, I think if I'd never think I'd be talented enough to play the Doctor, but if I couldn't play the Doctor, I'd love to play a villain. There's something wonderful about playing villains, and I've done it a couple of times in kind of Amdram stuff. Villains are great fun to play, because you can have so much fun with them. There's something really nice about unleashing your dark side.
Oh god, and the Master is so entertaining.
It's why John Sim, I think, is so great, because he plays it so maniacally and brilliantly. It's fantastic.
Oh,
He's got the madness down to a T. It's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then finding out that the Time Lords ain't exactly goody-goody. Yeah.
Again, another metaphor for humanity. If we're faced with a foe that we don't understand, we turn into monsters ourselves. That's, again, perfect metaphor.
Seriously, you did a great job with your web series. I guess we should start wrapping this up. And I gotta say, you are criminally underrated.
Thank
I
you.
mean it. I have more subscribers than you, and yet I'm just a Let's Player who can't edit. And yet you spend, so much time editing your videos to make sure everything looks good. You got great characters, good stories, and a lot of comedy. Why do you not have a lot more subscribers than me? That baffles me.
I think a lot of that is my lack of willingness to sell out. I did think about getting a Patreon page and asking people to donate money to help fund the web series, but I didn't for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's copyright, because a lot of my stuff is...
That is the issue here.
Which is an issue, and I don't want to get into a situation by which I'm having to take my videos down because people say I'm infringing copyright because I'm making money off it, so no, I won't be doing that. But the other reason I wanted to do it is just like, do you know what? I don't want to. I don't want to sell out. I want these to be a thing that I do for the sake of doing it. I want to...
A labor of love.
Money. Yeah, I don't want to make Dalek videos for a living. Yeah, that's never been my intention. I want to keep making them, certainly, and it would be nice if I could get a bit more time to make them, but I'll just have to find the time, because I don't ever want to make money off of these particular videos. It would be great if I came up with an original concept and someone wanted to buy it off me. Incidentally, I do have some written down on my hard drive. If you're watching this and you want to give me lots of money to make an original series, email me. It's on the YouTube page, matt@alldone.tv.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description for your YouTube.
So drop me an email if you want to give me lots of money to make things. But in terms of the Dalek videos, and definitely the Mathew Productions channel, I don't ever want... I'm happy with my 1,000 subscribers. That was my best moment on YouTube, I think, the moment I hit 1,000 subscribers. And you know, I've got an insane number of views. I think Buy a Daleks had over 20,000 views now. That's one of my simplest sketches, and yet people seem to like it.
Yeah, that was the one that...
makes me really happy.
That was the video that alerted me to your channel.
I think the thing about Buy a Dalek, it was such a simple sketch. Like, I want to do a piss take of an Apple advert. Let's do it with a classic Dalek and a new series Dalek, because I think that chemistry is nice. Incidentally, the chemistry between Darren, the new series Dalek, and Donald, who is the old classic series Dalek, I think that's one of my favourite kind of character back and forths in the stories, because it's this nice idea of kind of a generation gap between two generations of Daleks. Again, it's another thing that's a very human thing. We don't understand the previous generation, and the previous generation doesn't always understand.
Yeah, the previous generation is always like, those kids way back in my day.
Yeah,
back in my day, we didn't have special hovering abilities. We had to destroy the entire building in order to exterminate everyone if they went inside.
What do you do if your target flees upstairs? Simple, I go up the stairs. But what if the stairs are strategically important?
that needs to be on a T-shirt. That belongs on a T-shirt. Or a poster or something. I don't know.
Joel, that is one of my silliest scripts, that sketch. And it obviously touches a chord somewhere because people seem to like it. And I am incredibly grateful for that. I love the fact people enjoy my stuff. I enjoy making people laugh. I like Doctor Who. I enjoy the fact that I can use Doctor Who to make people laugh. And yeah, great. More of that, please.
Who knows? Maybe someday, maybe the BBC will look at this and be like, you know what? Why don't we give this guy more money so we could do professionally based Dalek videos? And suddenly you'll have to explain why Dalek became a toy to a full-size Dalek.
I doubt that would ever happen, but I tell you what, if Nicholas Briggs ever retires, can I have your job, please? Because that would make my day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if people think my Dalek voices are any good. I try really hard to kind of put subtle variations in there try and give them a bit of emotion. I don't know how well I do at that because I'm my own worst critic, so I will pick out flaws in them.
Personally, I think you do a really good job.
Thank you. But if Nicholas Briggs ever wanted to retire and they need a new Dalek voice, then at least let me audition.
Yeah.
I would love that job. That would be amazing.
I agree. So, although I think a lot of people want to know is, why are the Daleks toy size? That makes no sense with that plan. Of course, yeah. Of course, I have an idea as to why the Daleks are like that, but I'm not gonna say anything because it might actually become a plot point.
Well, yes, no, they're crafty, those plot points. No, logistically speaking, I can't afford an army of full-size Daleks. That's why they're all toy-sized, because toys are very much cheaper, and you can store them in cupboards.
Hey, is he still in there?
What, the Dalek Supreme? Yes, actually, he is. He's in the cupboard in disgrace. Yeah. He does make it out of the cupboard eventually. You all know that.
Yeah, I know that. But
the Adventures of Derek and Matt takes place before all the other videos have happened, or at least before the majority.
Oh right, I forgot. Time-wise, we're way ahead of that.
Probably timey-wimey. No, but so yes, of course, the Dalek Supreme does make it out of the cupboard. But logistically speaking, there is a shelf in this cupboard behind me where Derek, Monty, and the Dalek Supreme all live, and then I've got the smaller models on a shelf just above me here, above my computer. So they're nice and snug and easy to fit into places. And do you know what? I know people will laugh at the size difference, but do you know what? I kind of like that.
Actually, and it does make for that.
It's just another comedic thing.
Yeah, especially that time when I made fun of his size. And he just got so angry. If there's one, I think the second most annoying thing that Derek gets called is, other than being a pepper shaker or or anything involving that, is, aren't you a little short to be small to be a Dalek?
Derek actually has his own Twitter account, which I help him run because these clunky things are no good for typing. But he has his own Twitter account. It's Dalek Unit ZX4927 on Twitter. So check that out if you want vaguely amusing, dryly political and silly things from the point of view of a Dalek. And on there, I got a tweet one day from somebody saying, I think our fun size division needs a little discipline. To which my response, or Derek's response, was simply, do not belittle the Daleks. Yeah, satire's fun.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think, the best thing about Dalek is that everybody is equal in the eyes of the Daleks. Equally repulsive, equally exterminatable, and equally inferior.
Something that comes up in my videos a lot, and also I go on about this on Twitter a lot. Derek's kind of an armchair philanthropist in a way. He gets involved in causes. Like, he doesn't support the badger cull here in the UK. He doesn't like people who are racist or discriminatory, which is ironic because he's a Dalek. Come on.
Exactly.
But on Twitter, he recently tweeted the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh, I hate those guys.
Said, you are so stupid you lower the IQ of the entire universe. Only one form of hate matters, and that is Dalek hate.
Oh, I agree.
Equally inferior.
I hate those guys. Ugh. Just,
They irritate the hell out of me. And there are groups in the UK, unfortunately, that irritate me like that as well. I refuse to name them because I don't want to give them the oxygen of publicity.
Oh, I agree.
But there are groups within the UK and abroad who, obviously, I don't agree with.
There's obvious.
I like to think that I'm quite a relaxed, chilled-out kind of guy. I just want everyone to get along. In an ideal world, everyone would get along with everyone else, and everyone would be lovely and happy, and we'd all plunge all our funding into space exploration. We'd all be living on Mars by now, and everything would be lovely.
I mean...
But,
yeah.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we'd stop abusing our planet, leave it the hell alone, and give it a few centuries to recover, and then come back as tourists one day to see how it's getting on.
And then get eaten by giant lizards.
Exactly. No, but I think in an ideal world, and we don't live in one of those, I'd just like everybody to get along. And it upsets me that people don't. And I think people can be snide and cruel, and I don't like cruel people. Cruel people irritate me immensely. And I have my moments where I don't necessarily like myself. I've done things in the past I regret.
We all have.
Nothing illegal. I hesitate.
No. We all have done stuff we regret.
We all have our regrets in life, and but I think my one mantra in life is to try and be a good person. Even if I don't always succeed, at least I know I tried really hard. And I think one of the ways I'd like to be a good person is, whenever I'm confronted by someone who's overly hateful, of a particular group of people, or particularly nasty towards, the badger cull, for instance. And I don't support that in any way, shape, or form. I'm very much an animal lover and a nature lover. I'm not a tree hugger. I understand.
Oh God, PETA. Have you?
Yeah, no, exactly. I understand, the reasoning behind farming and all of that sort of thing. We're human beings. We've created this system. We have to live with it. But I think, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if you come across people you disagree with, kill them with kindness. I think. Or
if you're a Dalek, kill them quickly.
Kill them with lasers.
Yeah.
Kill them with kindness, then lasers.
I am doing this because I love you.
Exactly. No, I think the thing is, people like the Westboro Baptist Church and other really quite far right-wing groups who preach hatred and that sort of thing. The best thing to do is A, laugh at them, and B, don't rise to it. Just be nice, or just be sickeningly satirical. I think it's okay for Derek to go and threaten to exterminate those people because it's satire. As me as Mathew Alden-Farrow, I would never tweet those people and say, "Oh, you should all go and die," because that's not
No.
okay. That's fighting them on their terms.
Yeah,
the
a
best
Dalek.
thing you can do is say, "Do you know what? I completely disagree with you, but I will defend to the end of the earth your right to have your rubbish opinion, however wrong it might be."
Yeah, but then
So
again, when it
if
comes
you
to a
take one thing-
Dalek, every solution ends with extermination.
Exactly.
Someone you don't like, exterminate him. Behind on taxes, exterminate them. Got an annoying Dalek wife? Well, get some marriage counseling. Then exterminate the marriage counselor when he tells you it's your fault. See what I did there?
Yeah, very clever. I like that. That's very
Actually, that should be a joke there.
Dalek marriage guidance counselling. There's a sketch in there.
Yeah, two Daleks,
Future.
a Dalek husband and wife having to get marriage counseling. Although you're going to have to actually get...
That would make an amazing Darren and Donald sketch. Darren and Donald go through group therapy together. You know,
exactly. Look, see? Right? Hey, see?
See, writer's room. There we go. That one's going in the file.
Yeah, how about, why don't you just go write that...
File.
Why don't you go write that down? Just...
Yeah, I'm gonna go scribble a script down later. That's
amazing.
That could be a lot of fun.
And again, I really appreciate you letting me be part of this small team, as it were.
It's nice to have someone else to bounce ideas off of, and it's also nice to have a character who's a bit different. You know, me doing the same Dalek voice with a slight variation can get boring, I'm sure. So it's nice to have some collaboration. And incidentally, if anyone does want to do a collaboration video, you know, drop me a PM, you know, with any ideas you got. I'd be well open to that. And yeah, just let me know if you want to collaborate, people.
This guy's easy to get a hold of. I mean, he loves his fans.
Exactly. I know. I feel like I don't interact with my fans enough, and that makes me a bit sad in a way, because you know, I'm trying to get into the habit of replying to people's comments, and or at least liking people's comments, so people know I do actually read them and pay attention. I do, and I appreciate all of them. You know, no matter how old or how young you are, your love is appreciated.
Yeah, I think.
And if you don't like me, your hate is appreciated as well, because you know what? I use you guys to take my videos and improve them. So if you hate my videos, just tell me why. Because I will use that. I like constructive criticism. Yeah,
right.
That's why I know when someone says to me, "I hate your videos," I'll go and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Why did you hate that one?" And I honestly, I do take it on board. But if you're just hating for the sake of it, you can sod off.
Yeah, exactly.
Derek's coming round to your house later to exterminate you. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. Or if you're in America, we'll send. What was the name of my Dalek again? I can't.
Send Dalek Danny around to deal with
Danny. Dalek Danny. I can't remember. I hate it when I forget. I should know. I was the one who named him.
You should. I mean, jeez. Oh.
I really am an inferior human.
God, yeah. I know all of the names of my Daleks, and I love each and every one of them equally. Please, God, help me. Get me out of here. Hostage. I've not been outside for 7 years.
It's all an act. It's all an act. The police won't help me.
No one's going to help me. I'm going to be quiet now. That's weird.
Okay, I'll be quiet now. Maybe we should just cut this short before we say something wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get back into my box now and be quiet. All hail the Dalek Empire, etc.
Why do you think I got the poster?
Victor, I've actually got that on my wall. I'll just get my camera. Actually, hold on. So, there you go. There it is on the wall.
Is that Thomas the Tank Engine?
Victory. It is. Yes, that is a bookshelf that my dad built years and years ago. It's a funny story, actually. When I was very young, I used to collect the Thomas the Tank Engine book range. They're like about nay big, and they kind of had pictures and stories inside. And, you know, they're great little books. But my mum said to my dad, "You really need to make Matt a bookshelf because he's got so many of these books now. We've got nowhere to keep them." So I said, "Okay, I'll make him a bookshelf." So he made me a scale model of Thomas the Tank Engine, and the side flips up, and all the books can fit inside. And that resided in various different places around my house, and across 3 different houses, because I've moved house 3 times for many years. And then finally, sort of about 2 or 3 months ago, I moved my room around because I some plans I had to move out fell through, and I decided I'm going to be staying at my parents' house for at least the foreseeable future until I can make other arrangements. And so my dad finally, 23 years down the line, got round to sticking the bookshelf on the wall, and there he is in all of his glory.
That's very nice.
That's a lovely story, and it just goes to show that, you know, why do something today when you can do it 2 decades down the line?
Yeah.
He started the bookshelf, so it took him 2 decades to get it on the wall. You know, let's not be overly critical.
Well, look at
He made a beautiful thing. He designed that entirely from scratch and odds and ends, and it is a thing of beauty. I love that. I love that thing.
That is very nice.
It's a beautiful model, and my undying love and affection goes out to my father.
So we have been talking.
It's one of the most wonderful things I've ever been given.
So we've been talking for an hour and a half. Man, time flies.
Time does fly. I've had a lot of fun, so thank you for having me.
Right. Anybody who wants to subscribe to him, link in the description. Do give him the support and check out his videos. You will not be disappointed. Even if you're not a Doctor Who fan, the fact that it is an alien living with a human and the alien could easily kill him is hilarious. Wait, wouldn't that be abuse? Wouldn't that be like roommate abuse?
Probably yes. I imagine there are some outside agencies who would want to have a word with Derek about that. So
actually, yeah. I think they already did.
Citizens' advice, people. If you have been affected by any of the issues in tonight's program, Citizens' Advice Bureau in the UK. I assume there's an American equivalent or something in whatever country you're watching this from. So, you know, if you are being abused by your roommate and they want to take over the world, maybe get some advice.
Yeah.
Seriously.
At least get some counsel. Get some counseling.
Some advice, some counselling, and possibly, if your roommate actually is a Dalek, you might need to go through months of deprogramming as well, because these guys get in
or
such
get
a
one of these.
Got you covered there.
Well, I'm Bren Tenkage.
And I'm Mathew Alden-Farrow.
And we will see you later. Bye!